My mother-in-law and sister called me a freeloader while I secretly paid their bills. This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. I stood outside the house I had called home for years, my son clutching my hand tightly. My belongings were scattered on the front steps. Suitcases, boxes, even my son's favorite stuffed toy, lying lifelessly on the ground like discarded trash. The door was slightly open, and behind it, I could see the cold eyes of my mother-in-law, Anna, and my sister-in-law, Sophia. They stood there with smug expressions, their arms crossed, unmoved by the sight of a mother and child stranded outside. "You need to find somewhere else to stay," Anna said, her voice void of any emotion. I stared at her in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. "What are you talking about? What about Jake? What will I tell him?" I asked, my voice shaking with fear and anger. Sophia let out a dry chuckle, her lips curling into a cruel smile. "Tell him whatever you want. He's not here to care, is he?" I fumbled for my phone, desperately dialing Jake's number, but no response. Voicemail again and again. My heart pounded, my stomach churned with a mix of dread and realization. I had been blind. Blind to the manipulation, blind to the betrayal, blind to the fact that I had never truly been part of this family. I had been nothing but a convenient source of money, a placeholder until they no longer needed me. My son tugged at my hand, his innocent eyes looking up at me. Confused, "Mommy, are we going on a trip?" His voice was soft, unaware of the storm crashing around us. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced a smile. "Yes, sweetheart, just a little trip." I gathered our things, ignoring the smug faces watching me from the doorway. As I lifted the last suitcase, my phone buzzed. A message from Sophia. "Thought you might want to see what your beloved husband has been up to." My fingers trembled as I clicked on the link. A social media page loaded, and my breath caught in my throat. There was Jake, my husband, the man I had sacrificed everything for, wrapped around another woman on a sunlit beach, his hands resting comfortably on her waist, his lips close to hers. The timestamp was just yesterday. Everything inside me shattered. Anger, pain, betrayal, they all collided, forming a rage so intense that it made my vision blur. But beneath it all, there was something else. A quiet, burning determination. They thought they could break me. They thought they could throw me away like yesterday's garbage. They were wrong. Tomorrow I would walk into that house with a plan, and they would regret ever underestimating me. The next morning, after dropping my son off at school, I walked toward Anna's house, my heart pounding with a quiet but fierce determination. My grip tightened around the folder of documents in my hand. The divorce papers were neatly stacked inside, along with financial records and evidence that would ensure Jake wouldn't get a single cent from me. I wasn't walking into a conversation. I was walking into a battle. As I stepped onto the porch, the door swung open before I could knock. Jake stood there, his face carefully arranged into an expression of concern. But I knew better now. I could see the nervous twitch in his jaw, the slight unease in his eyes. "Emily, I'm so glad you came," he said, stepping aside to let me in. I walked past him without a word. The living room was just as I remembered, cluttered with decorations and furniture I had paid for. Anna and Sophia were seated on the couch, their expressions unreadable. I sat down across from them, placing the folder on the table between us. "We need to talk," I said, my voice even, controlled. Jake nodded, rubbing his hands together as if he were the one facing an uncertain future. "Yeah, of course. Look, I know things got out of hand. I didn't expect Mom and Sophia to act that way while I was gone." "Save it." I cut him off, my tone sharper now. "This isn't about them. This is about you. About us. Or rather, the fact that there is no more us." I opened the folder and pushed the divorce papers toward him. "Sign them," I said simply. For a moment, silence filled the room, Jake's face drained of color. "Well, what?" "You heard me," I continued, keeping my gaze steady. "I'm done. You've lied, cheated, and used me for too long. I'm taking my son, and I'm leaving. You will not get a single cent from me. Not for alimony, not for anything." Anna scoffed. "You can't just decide that." I turned my eyes to her, my voice cold. "Oh, but I can, and I have proof. Proof of Jake's affair, proof that he's been financially dependent on me. Proof that I've been secretly paying this household's bills while you two called me a freeloader. Sophia's smirk faltered. Jake's mouth opened and closed as he tried to find something to say. And in case you're wondering, I continued, standing up, I'm also taking back everything I paid for. As if on cue, the front door opened and two movers stepped inside. They began removing the furniture, the appliances, even the fancy coffee maker Anna had been so proud of. Anna shot to her feet. You can't do this. I turned to face her fully. Watch me. Jake finally found his voice. Emily, come on. We can talk about this. I laughed, shaking my head. No, Jake, we can't. I gave you everything, and you threw it away. Now you get to live with the consequences. I turned toward the door, pausing just long enough to look over my shoulder. Take care of your mother and sister, Jake. That's your job now. And with that, I walked away, leaving behind the life that had tried to break me. As I stepped outside, the weight on my shoulders lifted. For the first time in years, I felt free. This wasn't the end. This was my new beginning. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I moved into a new apartment with my son, a small but cozy space that felt more like home than Jake's family house ever did. Every morning, I woke up to my son's laughter instead of cruel remarks. I no longer walked on eggshells, no longer had to endure disapproving glares from Anna and Sophia. My online business continued to thrive. What had started as a desperate escape had transformed into something powerful, something that gave me independence. I expanded my content, launching new fitness programs tailored for busy moms. My inbox flooded with messages from women thanking me for helping them regain confidence in their bodies. But just as I was settling into my new normal, the past came knocking again. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, my phone buzzed with a new message. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. I'm sorry, can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment. It didn't take a genius to figure out who it was. Jake, I ignored it, but he didn't stop. The next morning, another message. Please, Emily, just hear me out. I made a mistake. Then another. The restaurant is struggling. I don't know what to do. And then the inevitable. I miss you. I miss our family. I miss Alex. Please let me fix this. I almost laughed at the sheer audacity. Fix this? There was nothing left to fix. I deleted the messages without responding, but it didn't stop there. A week later, Sophia reached out. I was shocked at first, considering she had always treated me like dirt. But her message was short and to the point. Jake is a mess. The restaurant is failing. Mom is losing it. You should talk to him. I rolled my eyes. They were only reaching out now because they needed something, not because they cared. Then came Anna's voicemail, her voice uncharacteristically soft. Emily, sweetheart, I know we haven't always seen eye to eye, but family should stick together. Jake is struggling. We all are. Maybe we can find a way to make things right. I shook my head. Family should stick together? Where was that sentiment when they threw me and my son out like garbage? They didn't want me back. They wanted my money, my success. I never replied. In the following months, things got worse for them. Without my financial support, Jake's restaurant collapsed. The debts piled up. The bank foreclosed on their house, forcing them into a cramped rental. Sophia's husband left her when he realized he wouldn't be living off my money. Anna's health declined under the stress, but there was no one left to take care of her. And me, I thrived. I signed a deal with a major fitness brand. I moved into a better apartment, one with a sunlit studio where I could film my workouts. My son started at a good school. We traveled for the first time, visiting places I had only dreamed of when I was stuck in that suffocating house. One evening, as I was scrolling through messages from my followers, a new email popped up. From Jake, subject, please. I hesitated for a second before opening it. Emily, I know you have no reason to listen to me. I deserve everything that's happened. But Alex is still my son. Please let me see him. I stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the man I had once loved, the father of my child, felt conflicted. He had made his choices, and I had made mine. But Alex was innocent in all of this. I closed my laptop, taking a deep breath. This wasn't a decision I could make right away. But whatever happened next, I knew one thing for sure. I would never let anyone take advantage of me again. Weeks passed, and despite Jake's email, I didn't respond. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. But I knew I had to do what was best for my son, not for Jake, not for his family, not even for myself. One afternoon, as Alex and I sat on the floor playing with his toy cars, he suddenly looked up at me with wide, curious eyes. "Mommy, why doesn't Daddy come see me anymore?" His question hit me harder than I expected. I had done everything to protect him, to give him a good life, but I had never prepared for this moment. I put down the car in my hand and pulled him into my lap. "Daddy made some mistakes, sweetheart," I said gently. "And sometimes when people make mistakes, they need time to fix them." "But he can fix them, right?" he asked, his little face full of hope. I hesitated. Could Jake fix them? Did he even want to? Or was he just desperate now that his life was in shambles? "I don't know, baby," I admitted. "But no matter what happens, I promise you, I'll always be here." He nodded, resting his head against my chest. That night, after Alex had fallen asleep, I sat in front of my laptop for a long time. Jake's email still sat in my inbox unread after that first glance. I wasn't naive. I knew his message wasn't just about Alex. He was drowning, and he wanted a lifeline. But could I be that lifeline without letting him pull me under again? I took a deep breath and typed a short response. "Jake, I will consider letting you see Alex, but only if you prove to me that you're serious about being in his life. No money, no manipulation, just him. If you want this, you'll have to earn it." Emily, I hit send before I could second guess myself. A part of me braced for disappointment, for more excuses, for more of the same Jake I had come to know. But another part of me, the part that had fought so hard to rebuild my life, knew that this wasn't about him anymore. This was about my son. Days passed before I got a reply. "Thank you. I know I don't deserve this chance, but I'll do whatever it takes. Just tell me what I have to do." I sat back in my chair, staring at the message. I didn't trust him. Not yet, maybe not ever. But this time I held the power. This time, I was the one setting the rules. Whatever happened next, it would be on my terms. Jake's message sat in my inbox for days. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. His desperation was no longer my problem. I had spent too long cleaning up his mess, carrying his weight, only to be discarded when I was no longer convenient. Now he was the one drowning, and I wasn't going to save him. His mother and sister weren't much better off. Anna and Sophia tried reaching out too, sending pathetic, guilt-ridden messages about how hard things had been, how they missed Alex, how family should stick together. I ignored them. Family had meant nothing when they threw me and my son out on the street. Family had meant nothing when they mocked me, belittled me, used me. And now, family meant nothing to me, but life had never been better. My business was thriving. My online courses for new moms had exploded in popularity. I was being invited to speak at events, collaborate with big names in the industry, and best of all, I was financially free. No more giving Jake money to bail him out. No more covering for his failures. No more making excuses for people who had never cared about me in the first place. One afternoon, as I was reviewing some new brand deals, Alex ran up to me, his little face beaming with excitement. "Mommy, can we go to the park?" I smiled, closing my laptop. "Of course, baby." We spent the rest of the afternoon laughing, playing just the two of us. No tension, no insults whispered behind my back, no fear of being tossed aside, just peace. As the sun began to set, Alex reached for my hand and squeezed it. "I love you, Mommy." And in that moment, I realized something. I had already won. As for Jake, Anna, Sophia, they were still trapped in the same toxic cycle they had always been in, just without me to bear the burden. Jake's restaurant was gone. Anna and Sophia had lost the comfort of their old life. They had each other, but without their financial safety net, they were struggling. They had called me a freeloader. Now they were the ones with nothing. Karma had done its work. I wasn't interested in revenge. I didn't need it, because the best revenge was living well. And that's exactly what I was doing. So to everyone watching, never let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. Never let anyone convince you that you owe them your happiness. And never ever let the people who abandoned you back into your life once they realize what they lost. Because trust me, when you rise without them, they'll regret it. If you've ever been in a situation like mine, tell me in the comments. How did you take your power back? I'd love to hear your stories. And if you haven't already, Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that prove one thing. The best revenge is thriving.